Hello and welcome to Female Cricket Live. Do you have enough nails left on your fingers? Because I have lost some after watching this exciting contest between South Africa and New Zealand that we witnessed today. All right, so what happened in the match today? Batting first, New Zealand posted a modest score of 228 as they were bundled out in 47.5 overs thanks to Shabnim Ismail and Ayabonga Khaka, who picked up 3 wickets apiece. For New Zealand, it was the captain Sophie Devine who top scored with a delectable 93 off 101 balls and was well supported by Amelia Kerr, who chipped in with 42 runs. In reply, South Africa chased down the target in 49.3 overs to win the match by just 2 wickets and 3 balls to spare. Laura Woolford scored yet another half century, which was her third consecutive half century in this World Cup campaign, and was well supported by captain Sunelu, who scored 51. Towards the end, it was their star all-rounder Marizanne Kapp who scored an unbeaten 34 to see the South African side home. Now, after this match, we can see that South Africa have won all the 4 matches of their World Cup campaign so far, while the hosts, New Zealand, have managed to win just 2 out of their 5 matches. Now, ahead of us, we have yet another exciting contest. It is between Bangladesh and West Indies. The match will be played tomorrow, that is 18th of March, at the Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui, and it will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. You all can catch the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. Now, to talk more about this exciting contest between Bangladesh and West Indies, I have with me Krisania Young, Anand Ramprasad, Dhanush Lavanya, and Urvi Shah. So, Krisania Young is a Caribbean cricket writer, cricket analyst, and chief editor at Mostly Cricket. Dr. Anand Ramprasad is a columnist at Trinidad Guardian and has a specialization in sociology of sport. Dhanush Lavanya is a content writer at Female Cricket, and Urvi Shah is a mental health facilitator and an avid cricket writer. I welcome all of you to Female Cricket Live.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Right. So, Crisania, West Indies had a wonderful start to their World Cup campaign, winning 2 out of the 2 matches against hosts New Zealand and then England. However, they lost their way somehow. They lost 2 matches to India and Australia. Now they are going to face Bangladesh tomorrow. So, what do you think West Indies have learned from these 2 losses against India and Australia?
Well, what did they learn? That they have, well, I think they already knew before, but they have the tendency to collapse, which I think they will want to put right for the rest of the tournament. I think they're hoping now that those 2 collapses would have been it, and then they won't be seen anymore. But on the flip side, I think they would have taken that. I was listening to Haley Matthews, and my thoughts were the same as hers. If you were to face New Zealand, England, Australia, and India, you would have taken 2 wins out of the 4. And I think she said 2 or 3 wins out of their first 4 games. That was a goal for them, an aim, a target, and they achieved that. And now they just look forward. I think they will want to just put these 2 losses out of their minds. They won't want to experience another batting collapse, but you take the 2 wins, which is that would be the positive from these games, and you just move forward. Don't dwell too much on the negative. You've got 4 points, you take them and you move.
Yeah. So we know that West Indies is coming after 2 big losses. Uh, Dhanush, I would like to ask you, Bangladesh, who just recorded their first World Cup win in the last game against Pakistan, uh, the camp is high in their spirits. So how do you feel that coming to their batting, which still remains a concern. So, facing the West Indies bowling attack, how important, or let's say, how crucial would it be for them to have longer partnerships tomorrow?
With Bangladesh, I feel that they have a very good batting unit. There is talent in that batting unit for sure, and they have good starts as well. We have seen in the 3 games that they have played, especially the opening partnership. If you see between Sharmeen Akhtar and Shamima Sultana, they both have given them very good partnerships. I guess the first 2 matches they scored 69 and 59 runs for the opening wicket, and they scored 37 in the previous game against Pakistan. And they have a very good batter in the form of Fargana Hoke, who has been really good. She has scored 131 runs in the 3 matches. She's coming to this game tomorrow with back-to-back half centuries. She scored a 71 and a 52, if I'm not wrong, in the previous 2 games. She is looking really good. And Nigar Sultana, the number 4 of the side, the captain of the team, also has been really good. These 4 players are key for them. And they have got starts, as I've said, but they have to make sure that they have those long partnerships, and they take the score from, if you say, if when Bangladesh come out to bat, if you say they score 200, they must be able to make sure they at least reach 230 or 240, because they have that capacity in them, because their bowling is really good. They have five very good spinners, and tomorrow they'll be playing against West Indies. And I feel with the past records and which the way West Indies have played against India and Australia, against Australia they lost five of their nine wickets, five of their wickets through two spinners, just Jonathan and Ashley Gardner. So spin is a very impactful tool against West Indies. So they must make sure that the five spinners that they have are given the right amount of opportunities, the right amount of overs. If they do the same thing like how they did against Pakistan, they truly have the capacity to beat West Indies as well.
Absolutely. I think, as Dhanush has rightly pointed out, that Bangladesh will be riding high on confidence after that emphatic win over Pakistan by 9 runs the other day. So, Dr. Anand, West Indies and Bangladesh have never played against each other in an ODI format. They have played 320Is against each other, and of course, West Indies winning all the 320Is. Now, 50 over format, new, given the fact that these two teams have not played against each other. So, how do you think is West Indies going to approach this format versus Bangladesh tomorrow?
I think they will definitely not underestimate Bangladesh, having not played them before in 50 overs. But as Chrisania said earlier on, I think what the team will be doing is drawing on the highs of the first two games they played that they won, and also drawing on some of the errors they would have made against Australia and India, and pooling and pitching this together so that when they approach the game against Bangladesh, they will be taking a very positive approach. I think they will be backing themselves in all three departments, in terms of batting, bowling, and fielding, and knowing that they need to ensure that they win each of the remaining three games to give themselves that opportunity of getting into the semifinals. So I think the approach is going to be very positive. They at no time will be underestimating Bangladesh, but they're going to back themselves to do well. Having had four tough games, definitely coming into the tournament, they would have put those four games as very tough games. And having come out with two wins, I think that is going to help them in terms of coming to terms with this game against Bangladesh.
Yeah, totally. Uh, we know that West Indies is a very good form. It's in a very good form. So, Krisania, I would like to know from you that do you see West Indies making any changes while playing against Bangladesh? Like Danush mentioned that the spin attack there is pretty strong. So, do you see anyone else coming into the squad, or will West Indies go with the same one?
I I wouldn't be surprised if uh, I wouldn't be surprised if they made the change with Rashada for Kaisi and Knight, but I wouldn't be surprised as well if Knight stayed. You don't want to be too one dimensional. She's the only left hander that is Knight in the lineup. So I can get, even though that she had a very rough start to the tournament, I would understand if they stuck with her, but I would also understand if they brought in Rashada. Um, and then with Anissa and Krishma, it wouldn't have been anything wrong that Ramarak did if she was to be replaced by Anissa. But I wouldn't. I see Anissa coming back in. To be honest.
So I think, as Krisania is mentioning, that probably Anisa Mohammed can make her way back to the playing 11 in tomorrow's match against Bangladesh. Now, as we are talking about spinners, Dhanush, the other day, Fahima Khatun of Bangladesh, she was simply amazing. 3 for 38 in 8 overs against Pakistan. She also won the player of the match. So how good was that move by Bangladesh to get her in the playing 11?
Definitely. If you see the whole progression of Pakistan's innings against Bangladesh, they had two really good partnerships for the first and second wicket, and they lost their third wicket when it was 183, if I'm not wrong, and they just needed like 50 odd runs to win the match. They had like 8 to 10 overs in their hands, and they had eight wickets in their bag as well. But unfortunately, that was the spin attack. That is when Fahima Khatun, all the spinners came into play, and they were exceptional. The whole bowling unit of Bangladesh just stepped up in the death overs, and they were getting the wickets every single over, and that is what halted Pakistan's run chase, and unfortunately, Pakistan had to lose the match by 9 runs. And it's been a really good spin attack, if I see, because every single player they have, like Rumana Ahmed and Faima Khatun are the leg spinners, and then there is Nahida Akhtar, who is the left arm orthodox, and there is off spin in the form of not getting the other two names, but there are two off spinners in the side as well.
Salma
So
Khatun.
yeah, so they have a very good combination of all the types of spin attack. And against West Indies, whom I've been saying have been not so good when it comes to spinners, facing spinners and playing them perfectly, there is an issue with finding out which ball is turning, which ball is not, and that is where the errors happen, unfortunately, for majority of the batsmen. And that is what West Indian batters are finding. So I feel that the spin attack is going to be really key in tomorrow's game, because if West Indies lose tomorrow's game, that's going to be like a dead end for them, because they have two more games, and then there are other teams like India, New Zealand, England, who are fighting to come back and make sure they end up in top four. And West Indies cannot afford to lose tomorrow against Bangladesh, especially.
Yeah, that's totally true. So, Dr. Anand, this brings me to my next question. When we are talking about the spin attack from Bangladesh, I would like to know your opinions on how West Indies should or could tackle the top order of Bangladesh. Like we know they are in a pretty good form. So, what do you see? Who are the bowlers you see who can actually start off well for West Indies if they happen to bowl first?
I think West Indies will have the option of either reverting to the use of Henry and Connell, or as they did in the game against Australia, reverting to Matthews and Connell. Given that the fact that they are playing Bangladesh, I would not be surprised if they revert to Henry and Connell, where they will bringing with them the extra pace plus the ability to move the ball. And so I would expect that maybe especially the conditions are conducive towards the fast bowling, that they will revert to Connell and Henry. But also the option of Matthews and Connell is equally strong as well. So I think either way, I think they have the combination of opening bowlers to put the Bangladesh players under pressure. I think going on what both Danush as well as Krisania would have said, that the scoring rate is going to be important. Yes, you may have partnership, but the rate at which you score is going to be important. And if the West Indian bowlers can even contain the Bangladesh batters for an extended period of time, at the back end of the innings, that pressure can mount, and that can lead to rapid fall of wickets and also restrict the score that Bangladesh puts on the table, on the board. So I think the combination of bowlers, either Cornell or pace attack or spin pace, West Indies have it in them to apply the pressure on Bangladesh. And from there, the backup bowlers will then continue to feed off of the early pressure.
I think it will be important for the West Indian fast bowlers to get those early breakthroughs because, as we have been discussing earlier in the conversation, that the Bangladeshi top order in the form of Shamima Sultana, Sharmeen Akhtar, and of course Fargana Hook have been in incredible touch. So it will be important for the West Indies to get those early breakthroughs
Yes.
tomorrow. So, moving on to the venue of the match, it is Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui. So far, 6 matches have been played there. It has been interesting that teams batting first have won three, teams batting second have won 3 matches. So, Chrysania, what do you think if the captain wins the toss tomorrow? Stephanie Taylor, if she wins the toss tomorrow, what will she choose to do?
I think what we've seen from the West Indies in the tournament so far is that they favor putting runs on the board and then handing it over to the bowlers to defend that target, whatever target they put on the board. Again, we're hoping the West Indies would be hoping to avoid a collapse. I think they'll be looking forward to a positive approach and a big score. And then again, because the two times they asked the bowlers to defend reasonable target over 200, they got 90 wickets. Excuse me, they got the 20 wickets, 10 wickets each time. So I think they'll be looking to put a score on the board and then asking the bowlers to defend again.
Yeah. So we know that it's a very good uh, ground to play at. Dhanush, I would like to know your thoughts here. When we talk about an overall performance, we say that it is a contribution of all bowling, batting, and fielding. And we have seen that Bangladesh has improved a little in their fielding. In the last game, we saw them take three catches, even though they dropped a few, but there were still three catches coming in. So when they're playing against West Indies, apologies for the noise. When they're playing against West Indies, what do you think their fielding strategies should be like? Like, should they go all out, or can, because from where I see, I don't see they can afford any drop catches. But what are your thoughts on only the aspect of fielding?
Absolutely, drop catches is not a part of a part of a match dictionary. There is no
Yeah.
one who tells that go out and drop catches, right? It's always catches win matches. That is the greatest saying out there when it comes to cricket. So as far as the fielding is concerned, it's not just Bangladesh. The whole standard of the Women's World Cup so far, when it comes to fielding, hasn't been to the level that we expected. Batting and bowling has been really good. I was having a discussion recently with one of my cricket enthusiastic friends who has not followed much of women's cricket, but he was also saying the same thing. I am extremely impressed by the way the batting and bowling is when it comes to women's cricket, but fielding is still a matter of concern to all the teams, not just Bangladesh. And going into tomorrow's game, it's always going to be that whenever the fielders are out there on the field, every single ball they have to be on their toes. Even though ball is not coming to their end, they should be making sure that they are ready whenever the ball is coming towards them, or the catches are when they are going for the catches and all these stuff. They have to make sure there is no missed attempts, there is no bad fielding efforts where they concede two or more runs, or they push the ball into the boundary by mistake or anything like that. That is important for Bangladesh women to make sure that tomorrow, not only tomorrow, in any game that they are playing, they have to improve their fielding standards, because this Bangladesh team, after that amazing victory, have got a really good confidence, and everyone is not considering as a big threat because they are playing their first World Cup. But if they manage to make sure that tomorrow also they defeat West Indies and may make another big upset, no one is going to consider them as a easy pass or a free ticket. They will consider them as a big threat, and they have a couple of big games after tomorrow's match against West Indies. They will be playing India and Australia and England in the last three games. So tomorrow's win is going to be really key in order to give those teams, the teams that they will be playing after that, some kind of a threat that okay, Bangladesh is a side that is capable of beating us, and they have defeated two teams in Pakistan and West Indies, and it's a great opportunity for them as a whole tomorrow.
Of course, I think Bangladesh has shown the world that they are there to fight after that win over Pakistan the other day. So, Dr. Anand, moving on to you, though West Indies have had a couple of losses in the last two games, the only silver lining in that dark cloud I can see is that Stephanie Taylor finally finding some form. She scored a brilliant 50 the other day. It was a patient 50 of 91 balls against Australia. But yes, finally she was among runs. So, your thoughts on Stephanie Taylor's batting, and how can the other batters try to learn to contribute more, and maybe the West Indian batting can revolve around her now?
It was very refreshing to see Stefani get back into some form. And I think that would augur well for the rest of the team. It will instill confidence in the rest of the batters, knowing that the ace batter has struck form and that they can rely on her to add to what they are putting on the tins, and then she herself. So I think overall, with Stefani getting at 50, it will instill confidence in the rest of the batter. And as Chrisania said earlier on, if West Indies bat first, her role in making sure that the West Indies score 200 or 225 plus is going to be very important. Even if they are batting second, I think with her form from the last inning, it will instill confidence if they are batting second and they have to chase any type of score, knowing that their ace batter is there and has the ability to deliver when required.
Yeah. So, Krisania, I would like to ask you something that recently I was reading the article where Hilly Matthews in her interview has mentioned that they are not really taking that kind of a pressure because they can still win 3 out of 3 and they expect to win against the opponents. So, what are your thoughts if they happen to be batting first? What are some points that they should take care of? Like if they are facing the spin attack of Bangladesh?
I when I look back at the dismissal of Sinead Campbell against Australia, I was very disappointed. She to understand this, she came in still in the power play, and Stefani clearly had a plan. She was trying to ride out. She realized this phase of the game, the opposition is on top. I'm just trying to ride this out until we can bat as deep as possible, and then at the back end we're going to try and go. She made understood that Australia were on top, and she hit out and she got out. She got caught. She was visibly frustrated. We saw Stefani just speaking to her, but that did not work. I think that comes down to the shots that the West Indian batters have in their arsenal and how they deal with pressure. You will see batters from other teams, they will sweep, they will come down the wicket, they will drop the ball, and they will run when they are under pressure. That is how they deal with it. Because the West Indian batters, they don't have that many shots in their arsenal. Then the way that they go about trying to relieve pressure are big shots. So I'm looking forward to seeing the others look at what the captain did, realizing that you're under pressure and conceding that the opposition is on top in this moment in time, just trying to rotate, strike, and get as deep as possible, but as deep as possible into the innings and then try to get a big score. That is what I would like to see from the West Indian batters, and that is what I think caused the collapse against both India and Australia. They are good teams. There is nothing wrong with saying we need to ride out this phase and then go big at the end. So that is how I think they should approach should they find themselves in similar situations come this season.
Okay, I think it will be important for the West Indian batters to put up a strong fight against the aggressive and attacking bowling attack that will be presented in the form of Bangladesh tomorrow. So, Dhanush, we are just few hours away from this exciting contest between Bangladesh and West Indies. So, according to you, who could be the players to watch out for from the Bangladesh team?
For me, it's going to be Fargana Hawk because she's been having a stellar World Cup so far. She's like a breakout star for that Bangladesh team, and she has been having exceptional batting performances over the last couple of games. And then we have been talking about the five spinners in their side for him, and but we have to not forget the two seam bowlers in their side, especially Fariha Trisna because she has a really good. Line and length. She has been bowling exceptionally well. She might not be in the wickets column that much, but she has the capacity to impress when it comes to when it comes to playing against any opponents. So I hope that she is going to come out there and give her best and take those early wickets because she is the opening bowler out there. So these are the two players that I am watching out for in this game. And I have one question here for Dr. Anand. This is a match which is this is the seventh match that is happening here in Mount Maunganui. So 6 matches have gone by. Do you think that the wicket will be way much slower on the slower side compared to what it was in the first or the second game, where we expect 260, 265 in the first games? Now we can reduce it to 220, 240 as the ideal score.
Yes, I think the pitches will be experiencing wear and tear. And as pitches experience wear and tear, it's going to become slower. It is possible that it's going to offer more spin. So, based on what Chrisania was saying earlier on, if West Indies were to bat first, they have to read the conditions and play according to the conditions and understand if it's a slower pitch, the same challenges that they are going to have batting if they bat first, the same challenges the second team is going to have as well. So I think it's all about reading the pitch. It's possible the pitch will be slower, and it means therefore the batting has to be more deft, playing as late as possible, and using the pitch condition, and as well as in terms of how they approach it and the type of score that they can get. So definitely, I think a score between 225, 240, as we have seen in the last couple of games, tend to be very winnable scores. And I think if West Indies bat first, that is something that they should keep in mind: the nature of the pitch and what type of score will be defendable on that pitch. And likewise, I think if Bangladesh bats first, they may also be considering the same factor, especially given the battery of spinners that they have.
Yes, I think, and I was just looking through the average first innings score that has been scored in these six matches. So from the World Cup opener, when West Indies took on New Zealand, they scored 259, and New Zealand went on to score 256. The match was also played at the same venue, Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui. But now the average first innings score is 230 here, and the average second innings score is 214. So yes, Dhanush and Dr. Anand, you're pretty right in saying that probably 225 to 30 could be the score that both the teams would be eyeing if they opt to bat first. All right, so Krisania, who could be your players to watch out for from tomorrow's game from West Indies?
Well, if um if Rashada Williams comes into the team, I think what when we saw what she did against South Africa in the Caribbean, I for one I was anticipating a change of roles for the captain because she is the resident anchor of this team. But seeing how Rashada bats or Williams bats, if she would then take on that role and then give Stefani and the rest a bit more freedom. So if Rashada comes into the team, lack of form and all, I would go for her as my player to watch. If not, I would go back to Henry. I would go back to Henry. I think it's very disappointing that it was just a game against Australia where chances were slim for a win that we actually saw her pitching it up and not really hiding the ball. So many right-handers that go for the partnership. Just look out for the partnership of her and Shamilia Connell with the new ball, moving it away. Hopefully, they'll not just contain the runs in the power play, but they will be also able. They'll also be able to get wickets.
And yes, before I move to Dr. Anand for getting the match predictions, I would just like to tell you, Prisania, that I was pretty impressed with Chanel Henry when she was hitting the deck hard against Australia and when she got the shoulder of the bat out of Rachel Haynes. It was simply amazing to watch these West Indian fast bowlers hitting the deck so hard. All right.
And she
So,
enjoyed it as well.
yeah. Right, right, right. So, Dr. Anand, the tough question for you. Your prediction. Who's going to win tomorrow? West Indies or Bangladesh?
I'm gonna back West Indies all the way. As much as we have never played them in ODIs, having played them in T20, and I think that they're gonna riding on that experience of having played them before, and I'm gonna back the West Indies to win tomorrow, and rather convincingly as well.
Dhanush, your predictions for tomorrow's match?
Yeah, certainly West Indies will be hoping to come back strong because they have had two really bad matches against India and Australia. They lost in big margins. But Bangladesh, I just wrote an article on their captain, Nigar Sultana. She was like, "We don't know them, and they don't know us. We don't have the knowledge about how the approach is going to be between the two sides. We will just make sure that we forget what we did in the previous game, and we just uh, take the positives from that victory against Pakistan and apply it the same here, and try our best to make sure that we can win against West Indies as well." So let me see. Bangladesh has a chance for sure, but West Indies are starting as favorites on paper.
Right. So since Dhanush has mentioned that since they don't know each other, probably this could be ignorance and bliss for both the teams. So let us see what happens going into the match tomorrow. So Krisania, your final predictions. Who's going to win, Bangladesh or West Indies tomorrow?
I mean, no one knows, right? No one knows. I try to stay away from. I don't want to jinx the West Indies. Oh my God, I do not want to jinx the West Indies. I'm hoping that they come out, they feel well, they bowl well, they bat well, they remain humble, they do not get ahead of themselves, and they get back to playing their best cricket. And if they do that, they should be victorious. But matches are not won in match previews or in the dressing room. They have to go there and play. Expect nothing but tough competition from the opposition and execute your plans, and they should be fine.
But yes, Krisania, I must tell you that your prediction was strong. And if you remember clearly, the first match, New Zealand versus Bangladesh, you said 260 and West Indies did post 259. So yes, your predictions are pretty strong. All right. So it was wonderful talking to you, Krisania, Dr. Anand, Dhanush, and Urvi about this exciting contest between West Indies and Bangladesh that we are going to witness tomorrow. The match will be played at the Bay Oval in Mount Maunganui and it will start at 3:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. You can catch all the live action on Star Sports and Disney Plus Hotstar. We'll be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. to preview the match between India and Australia. So do join us for our conversation tomorrow at 8 p.m. and send us your questions using hashtag Female Cricket Live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.